Welcome back to my next playthrough series. This time I'll be doing the first scenario from Conan. It's a little miniatures skirmish game, and I am not really going to be going over the rules per se. There's been lots and lots of playthrough videos already done for this, how to play videos, playthroughs, etc. So I'm just going to go ahead and play through this first scenario. And what we're trying to do here, we'll be playing with Conan, with Shibata, and with Hadrathas, which we'll be looking at here in a minute. We're basically coming into this Pict village. We're trying to rescue a princess, and we're trying to take out the shaman here and leave with his head. And so the first scenario, you can take a look here in the book, is called In the Clutches of the Picts. It says, with the echoing war drums of the Pict tribe settling beyond the Black River and the increased frequency of incursions up to the Thunder River, many settlers flee from the Kanjahara territory for the safer lands of the kingdom of Aquilonia. While scouting along the border to Valis, the commander of Fort Tusculum, Conan bears witness to the massacre of a column of refugees from Vilitrium. The Picts withdraw victoriously with a female prisoner who Conan recognizes as Yzelda, the daughter of the city's governor. The Chimerian knows that Yzelda's life can now be measured in mere hours, and she will shortly be sacrificed on the altar of Jabal Sag. He's the shaman, the lord of beasts. Back in Fort Tusculum, Conan assembles a small group of experienced warriors to rescue the governor's daughter and, at Valanis's request, bring back the head of Zogar Zag. Alright, so that's the idea. This is the setup for everything. So Conan starts up here. Hadrathas, the wizard, starts down there, and our thief, rogue character, Shibata, starts here. There are some special rules for this scenario, so you can read all those if you like to. Basically, if you just pause here, you can read all that, but I won't bother reading it all for you. We will deal with all this as the scenario unfolds, and this is how we set up the board, which I'll also show you for the Overlord character, because it's a one versus all. So of course I'll be playing all these sides. So like I said, I'm not going to go over the rules. I'm just going to show you the characters, what they start with. We're going to look at the Overlord board, and then we're going to do a turn for the first episode. All right, so the first of our three characters is Shibata. And I've set him up per the scenario instructions. So basically he's going to have 5 gems here to be used for activations, and he has 5 gems in his fatigue area already. He starts off with a Kris, which is a dagger knife, and it rolls a yellow die for attacking, and it can be thrown. We'll go into the rules as we play the game, so I won't explain it too much. There's encumbrance levels on weapons and armor that you're carrying, and it has an effect on which special abilities up here on your card that you can activate depending on encumbrance. But again, won't make too much of an issue of it right now. We'll worry about it when we play the game. So he basically has throwing knives, and he has a Kris to start with. All right, we're going to look at Hadrathas, the wizard next. All right, and similarly, he's going to have 5 gems to be able to activate for his turn, and 5 in the fatigue area. And if he has a total here of 10, and so does Shibata, Conan has a little bit more because, well, he's Conan. Our wizard here has 3 spells: Teleportation, Mitra's Halo, and Lightning Storm. And I'll explain how those work if and when he's going to use them. He also carries with him a dagger for being able to attack kind of melee with. And like I said, I'm not going to go over the rules, explain how everything works. You'll see it in action as we take the first turn. All right, up last, we'll take a look at Conan. And we're going to have here a look at Conan. Now, Conan has a total of 11 gems for activation. He's got 6 kind of in reserve to be able to spend 5 in fatigue, again, per the scenario rules. He has a battle axe, which is a 2-handed weapon. We know that because it is encumbrance 3. Anything that's 3 or heavier for weapon is considered 2-handed. Anything that's 2 or less is a 1-handed, and it makes a difference for certain abilities, such as Conan's cleave ability, which we'll get into when we play the game. He also has leather armor, which gives him always a yellow die to roll in defense, and he has a shield, which if he activates defense when he gets attacked, will come into play, giving him an orange die. So Again, and he has an encumbrance of 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, but he's Conan, so he can handle lots of encumbrance. He's a big, strong, beefy guy. So that's Conan. We're going to now take a look at the Overlord board, the Book of Skelos it's called, which is really cool. Explain a little bit of what's on there, and then I think we're just going to go into the turns. So the heroes take their turns first, in any order as well. The turn order in this is kind of like Conan can do something, then the wizard, then back to Conan, over to Shibata, back and forth, until they basically decide they don't want to take any more actions. So that's how a hero turn works. And then we go over to the Overlord board. So let's take a look at the Overlord board now, explain a little bit about that, and we'll get right into gameplay. Okay, and here we have the Book of Skelos. This is the dashboard for the Overlord player, and this is all set up according to the introductory scenario. So we're looking for the princess. She is in one of the huts somewhere, and this is the hidden princess hut number, so we don't know where she is. We have to try to find her. And these are all sort of removable things because per scenario you put different things in. I'm not going to explain all the icons and things at the moment. This is basically the little activation thing. So we're going to be able to move 5 gems from the fatigue area back into the activation area. At the start of every Overlord turn, there are different ones of these depending on scenario. So this is all set up per scenario. The shaman has a health of 5, so I'm putting him by the 5, and the giant snake has a health of 8. And then we have blue Pict hunters. We have Zogar Zag. Here we have Pict warriors. We have hyenas, green colored Pict hunters, a giant snake, red Pict hunters, and an event. And what is our event? According to the scenario, when we activate that event thing, it's 4 reinforcement points for bringing defeated units back into play. And so there you have it. And the numbers that correspond here on top of each one of these tiles is what it costs the Overlord to spend from his activation area to fatigue to activate the different units. And when you activate a unit, you're basically going to pull them out of here, put them to the back of the row, and everything else will slide up. So that's how it works. Very, very cool, unique activation board. Really like it. And so without further ado, let's just get into, I guess, the first turn of the game. We're going to do the heroes, and we're going to do the Overlord, and that will be basically intro and episode 1. All right, so we have this handy-dandy turn tracker, which is also supposed to track life of units that have more than 1 hit point. I just put the hit points on the dashboard for the Overlord. So we're going to begin turn 1, so we're going to move our token here from 0 to 1. In this particular scenario, we have 8 turns to rescue the princess and get the shaman's head and get out of the village. If we don't do it by the end of turn 8 for heroes, then we're going to lose the game. We're going to get overrun by reinforcements. So we're on turn 1, and the first thing we're going to do on the hero phase is we need to do the start phase, which is going to move any used gems over, but we're not going to have that on the very first turn because we haven't used any gems for anything. So we're going to go right into the stance phase. Alright, so the stance phase is pretty simple. You have a choice. You can either be aggressive or passive. And if you're aggressive, you can basically do any of the actions you want, but you're only going to be moving 2 gems over from this location over to your action location. If you want to take a passive stance, then you can't perform any actions except re-rolling dice and defending yourself. So you can't move, you can't attack, you can't do any of that. But you'll be moving 5 gems from here back to your area. So for Shibata, I think we're going to have him start out aggressive, and that means he's going to be moving 2 gems from his fatigue area over to his sort of active area. So that's what we're going to do with Shibata. Let's take a look now at our wizard and see what he's going to do. All right, I think for our wizard, I think we're going to have him be passive, which means he can't move. He can only defend himself, but he's going to be moving all 5 gems into his sort of active slot. So he's going to be really geared up for his second activation, but he won't really be doing a heck of a lot this turn except kind of preparing himself for next time. All right, let's take a look at Conan. All right, Conan is going to be aggressive because he's Conan. So we're going to be able to move 2 gems over to the area here. And with that all said, now it's time for our heroes to start doing what they can do. So really our two only aggressive active heroes at the moment are Conan and Shibata. Hadrathis is kind of pooling his resources and building up his energy for the second turn. So we're going to go to the main board and we're going to start activating our heroes. Alright, I'm going to start off with Shibata. He has, as you can see here in black, 3 movement. Now that's just a free movement. He doesn't have to spend any gems to use that. So let's go to the board. We're going to have him take a movement of 3. And remember, he's in aggressive stance, so he can do basically all actions. Alright, so Shibata is starting the game over here on the far right of the board. This is a spawn point for reinforcements. For the Overlord player, the name of this scenario is we need to get into all the huts. We have to find the princess. We have to take her. She's going to be an encumbrance value of 6. She's unconscious, I guess. And we have to get her out of here. So that's one of our 2 objectives. The other one, of course, is to kill the shaman and bring his head with us. So we're going to get into this hut right here with the 2 hyenas in it. And he has a 3 movement. So he's going to go 1 movement to here. And it costs 1 extra movement to go through the hut flaps. 2, 3. So now Shibata is in the same hut with the 2 hyenas. And he's going to ask the Overlord player, is the princess in here? No, she's not. All right. And the giant snake here, something going on next door. All right, so Shibata is in there. What is he going to do? I think he's going to try to attack the hyenas. Let's go back to his sort of player board and figure out how he's going to do that. How we attack in the game. If he wants to attack with melee, he's going to use this melee area. If he wants to do ranged, he's going to do this one. The red number in the left corner is the maximum amount of dice you can put in there. Now he's going to attack with his Chris, which is a +1 yellow die. And he gets to re-roll the yellow die. There's a little arrow symbol on it. And he's going to spend 1 die in here to attack one of the hyenas. Now he can attack 4 times if he puts 4 in here at 4 separate times. So he's going to be rolling 1 orange die, 1 yellow die. He gets to re-roll the yellow die against the hyenas. Let's go back to the board and have that first attack. Alright, so Shibata is attacking one of the hyenas. He gets to roll a yellow die and an orange die, and he's going to see how many hits he can get. The hyenas have no armor whatsoever. So let's see what happens. And he gets 2, 0. He gets no hits, but he gets to re-roll the yellow die for free. And so he ends up getting 1 hit on the hyena. Now we're going to go over to the Overlord's board, because the Overlord can spend his crystals or gems to defend if he wants to. So the Overlord here will spend 1 gem. He's going to put it into the defense here, which is then of course going to get spent over here to roll 1 die for defense. So he's going to get to roll 1 orange die to try to defend against the 1 hit. And again, the hyenas have no armor, so if he doesn't get any defense on the hyena, that 1 hyena will be killed because it only has 1 hit point. Alright, so Shibata has 1 hit against the hyena, but the Overlord has decided to spend a die to roll a defense. And he gets 2 successes, so he successfully blocks the first hit. And I think Shibata is going to spend another crystal into his attack area to do that attack again. So he's going to roll an orange and yellow again for another attack, and he could re-roll the yellow. He gets a 0 on the orange again. He could spend a crystal to re-roll this, and I don't think he's going to bother, and I think the Overlord is going to spend 1 more crystal to try and block that hit again. And this time he doesn't get anything. So the hyena would be killed. Now the Overlord can keep spending crystals to re-roll more defense dice, but I don't think he's going to bother. The hyena is going to be killed. So that's the first casualty. And Shibata is going to once again attack the hyena. So he's going to have to spend another crystal into his attack area. And let's hope he gets better luck. Oh, and this time, wow. He gets 2 hits on the orange die, 2 hits on the yellow, 4 hits. The Overlord is just going to give it up and not bother rolling any defense dice, wasting crystals on that. 2 hyenas have been eliminated. So good job for Shibata. He got in here, didn't find the princess, took out both hyenas. Now he does have an option to try to open this chest, and I think he might do that. So let's go over to his area again and figure out how we can try to open a chest. Alright, so we're going to have Shibata here try and pick the lock of that chest that's in the hut. And so we're going to spend 1 crystal into the manipulation. So this is considered a complex manipulation. It's going to give him 1 red die to pick the lock. And he also has, if we look here on his card, this little yellow symbol here with a little lock on it. And that corresponds to this ability here on this card. Lock picking. This character rolls an extra red die when picking a lock. So he's going to have 2 red dice to roll to pick the lock, and we need 2 successes to have the lock picked successfully. So let's go to the board, roll up our 2 dice, and see if he can pick that lock. Alright, so Shibata here, after dispatching the 2 hyenas, is trying to pick the lock and see if he can get in there. He's going to be rolling 2 red dice. He needs 2 successes, and he gets 1. Oh my good lord, that is ridiculous. So he's going to spend a crystal into re-roll. We're going to do that. We're going to re-roll 1 of the red dice. Come on, he needs 2 successes. And finally, he does a re-roll. He ends up with 3 successes. He's cracked the lock on the chest. He opens it, and what does he find inside? Well, there is a stack of cards set up by the scenario, and so we'll just take the top card. He finds a bow inside of that chest. This will focus. It's basically a ranged weapon and rolls an orange die, an encumbrance of 2. So we're going to add that to his inventory. He now has a total encumbrance of 3, which is not a big deal. But he now has a bow for ranged attacks instead of the throwing knives, which is a little bit better. And I think that's all he's going to do for his actions this turn. Now we can alternate. We could have alternated between Conan and him back and forth, or whatever you want. But I just decided to do all of his actions at one time because he's concentrating. He wanted to get in here, open the chest, get rid of the hyenas. Now we're going to go over to Conan, and he's going to have his actions. All right, so we're going to have Conan take his turn now. He has 2 free movement points right out of the get-go, but he is going to spend 1 crystal in here to make it 3 movement, and you'll see why here when we go to the board. We're going to have Conan move 3 spaces. Right, so Conan enters the board from up here. He's going to go 1, 2, and he spent that extra crystal to go 3 spaces. So he's going to move into the same location as this Pict warrior. And now he's going to attack the Pict warrior. So go back to his player board, and we'll show you how that's going to work. And then we're going to have the attack. And as the series progresses, to speed things up, I'm not going to keep coming back to the player boards to show you where I'm putting crystals on, because it's just going to take too much time. So we're going to go ahead, and he's going to spend 2 crystals on attack. He can spend a total of 5. He doesn't have to spend them all at one time. And he's going to be using his battle axe, which means he gets +1 red die. So he's going to be rolling a total of 3 red dice, and he gets 1 free reroll with it. So let's go ahead and attack that Pict. All right, so Conan's going to be rolling 3 red dice. He's going to be attacking this Pict warrior. We're going to see what he gets for successes. And he gets a pretty darn good roll. He gets 3, 6. He gets 7 hits. He does get 1 free reroll, so he might as well reroll the 1, try and make that a bigger attack, and it ends up being a 2. So he has 8 hits against the Pict warrior. Now the Pict warrior has 2 defense, so 6 hits have gone through, and the Overlord player is not going to bother trying to roll any defense dice, because he'd have to probably spend 4 or 5 crystals to try and make that hit unsuccessful, because that was a brutal hit from Conan. So this guy is going to be taken off the board. Now Conan has more he can do, and if he wants to move anymore, he's going to have to spend crystals into his movement points, and I'm not sure if he's going to do that or not, but I think he might spend another 1 crystal for 1 more movement. It's going to move over to this location, getting ready to maybe go in and take on the shaman who is in this location up here. So that's basically, our heroes now have basically done what they want to do. They're not going to do anymore. And again, the magician, our wizard, is just resting. He's just powering himself up. Over now we go to the Overlord, who gets to play basically 2 actions now on his turn. We'll show you how that works. It's the Overlord's turn, and as we can see here, 5 crystals are going to move from this area over into the green area to be able to be spent. Now, the Overlord can activate 2 of the river of tokens here on his turn, so he could activate any of these twice or whatever, and the cost to activate them, of course, is up above here. So if he wants to activate the blue Pict Hunters, it's only going to cost him 1 crystal to activate. Then if he wants to activate the Shaman, costs 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on, up to 8 for reinforcements. I think the first thing he's going to do is he's going to activate the purple orc, or I keep calling them orcs, the Pict warriors, which means it's going to slide down here. But we're going to be able to activate all of them on the board. They have a movement of 2, and so let's go to the board and see what they're going to do. All right, so the purple guys here, these guys have a movement of 2. This one's going to go 1, 2 into Conan's space. This one, though, is going to go 1, 2 down here. We're going to spend 1 extra crystal for movement for the Overlord to move into the wizard space right down here at the bottom. And so that's going to be another crystal spent. And now he gets to attack with them. And we'll just take a look at the token here. So we get to roll 1 red die, and they get to re-roll it. So we're going to go ahead, and we're going to have the attack down here against our wizard. So I'm going to go to the dice tower. We're going to do that. Right. So now we're going to have the Pict attack Conan. And he rolls 3 hits. So we're going to go over to Conan's area, and we'll see how his defense against that will. All right, Conan does not want to take 3 damage from that. He is going to spend, he's going to spend 1 of his crystals. So that's going to give him an orange die on defense. It's going to activate his shield down here, which is going to give him +1 orange die on defense, and he also gets a yellow die for defense. So he has 3 hits against him, and he will then be able to roll 2 orange dice and a yellow die. If he puts 2 up here, he could roll 3 orange dice and a yellow die. But I think we're going to leave it at 2 orange dice, a yellow die. Let's go back to the board and see if he can defend against that. Okay, Conan going to defend against that attack. And he gets 3 defense versus the 3 attack, so no damage gets through. All right, good stuff for Conan. And that was the first of 2 activations for the Overlord. Let's have him do his second one. All right, the Overlord here has 2, 4, 6, 8, 9 crystals left. He's going to spend 1. He's going to activate the blue Pict Hunters. All right, and they have a movement of 2, 1 defense, and they roll 2 yellow die, and they get to re-roll both of them. So we're going to go to the board. We're going to activate all 4 of the blue. All right, first up is this one. He's just going to use his 2 movement to go through the tent flap. 1, 2. He's out trying to figure out what's going on. Let's go to the other 3. All right, the other 3 are here. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2 movement takes them all out here. The Overlord can spend extra crystals now to move these guys extra spaces if they want. And I think he's going to spend 1 crystal to move this one here. So we're going to do that. We're going to spend another crystal to move this one here. And I think that is going to be where the Overlord leaves it off. So it's basically... he's basically done his turn. So we're going to zoom out a little bit here. We're going to wrap up the episode for today. So we're playing Conan the board game. We have our wizard down here who took a rest action. So he's going to be fully powered up for the next episode. And the Overlord's moved a bunch of minions around. And we've been able to destroy, with Shibata's here, 2 hyenas, open a chest, get a bow. And Conan's up here tangling with a Pict warrior. And our shaman is hiding up in this tent just to the north of Conan. We have this giant snake in here, which hasn't activated yet. It probably will at some time in the near future. So this is Conan the board game. It's a tactical skirmish kind of thing. And this was our intro and episode 1. I hope I haven't made too many errors. If I have, I'll leave notes and try to not mess up the rules as we go. So we're trying to find the princess, get her out of here, and we're trying to kill the shaman and bring his head along with us. That was round 1. Join me next time for round 2 of Conan.